a lot of people think, oh, I'm getting fit and I'm losing fat, and those two are the same thing. They're not, right? Yes, conditioning can be a part of this process, but they're two separate goals. They're very, very much interlinked, but they're not the same thing, right? But when they are properly done together, right? So firstly, if you're carrying less overall weight, right, it's like you're not wearing a weighted vest. Imagine playing a game with an extra 10 kilo weighted vest. That game would be significantly harder. Imagine doing a fitness test with a 10 kilo or even a 5 kilo weighted vest. That would make that game much more difficult. Well, that's what you're doing if you're carrying excess fat, because that fat is not helping you in any way in your performance. So to take that weight off, obviously is going to give not the illusion, because it actually is a reality, of being in better condition, but it's without any sort of extra conditioning work. And obviously with that, like, as I've already touched on, once you've lost that weight, you can then obviously eat to really perform at your best, which is obviously going to really help your conditioning. And whilst both of those things aren't directly affecting the actual conditioning side of things, right? You're fueling yourself, is just allowing you to perform at your best, and losing that fat is just taking that weighted vest off, but they still lead to a greater increase in performance, which is what you're wanting at the end of the day. Then when you're looking at your training, now you've got the freedom to really choose what you want to improve about your performance. What is it in your rugby that you need to improve? And for a lot of these people that are overweight, it is that conditioning component, but they're not training for that fat loss, right? They're training to improve their conditioning. Yes, training to improve their conditioning is going to burn calories, which is going to make fat loss that much easier. And that's kind of the interlinking and how really synergistic these two things can be. And it does really work well together, but they were viewed as absolutely separate things. They did, in fact, these guys did a lot of low intensity aerobic conditioning. It's almost a fat burning zone. If you're on a machine in the gym, the aerobic zone as the fat burning zone. But it's also the zone where you can get most bang for your buck, as far as not causing a large amount of fatigue and really improving your aerobic system, which will then fuel you when you play rugby. Now, I'm not going to go crazy into like zone 2 and stuff. I've done enough videos on that. You can go check out the rest of the channel if you want to see more about why aerobic work is so important for rugby. But just understand that, performance training itself leads to so much greater motivation in training. It leads to a better net fat loss result, because you're not just training for fat loss. I don't think fat loss training really exists, right? Working out to burn calories, like, it fails over and over again, because when it comes to fat loss, nutrition is everything. Performance training can help that, right? Because it's going to be a period of time, an hour or so a day, give or take, where you're going to be burning a higher amount of calories than you are just doing nothing. And it's going to, which will then give you more calories to play with when it comes to your diet. But at the end of the day, it's a separate thing. And these guys viewed their performance training as a separate thing. They did that zone 2 work to improve their aerobic conditioning. Yes, it caused minimal amount of fatigue and allowed them to get a lot of fat loss done, but that's not the point, right? They did that to boost their aerobic system, not to elicit fat loss. There was no working out just to burn calories. That's a stupid use of your time. It's a waste of your time, because it can all be undone by one bite of a cookie.